So good evening from Hong Kong and morning in the UK. We're now up to around 55 attendees joining us from Singapore, Thailand and the UK. So we'll kick things off. We've got an interesting 60 minutes ahead of us. I'm going to be packing as much new information as I can. Along with my three guest speakers, I'm going to share tips and nuggets of information which can save you thousands of euros when buying Golden Visa eligible Portuguese property. The aim here is to provide clear facts and a deeper understanding of the Portugal Golden Visa program. So what to expect from today? 6 key points in 60 minutes. Firstly, let's get to know each other. I'll provide a quick overview of who we are and the key personnel in my team. Secondly, to embark on the Golden Visa program, you'll need a minimum of 330,000 euros in the first 12 months. So we've got Rebecca Hooton on the webinar, who is from a leading foreign exchange provider, Treasury. She'll be explaining how Treasury can save you 1% or 3,300 euros on international money transfers. Next, we've got Gary Driscoll, also from Treasury. He'll be taking a closer look at the euro and why it's fallen so much. To provide context here, 12 months ago, a 280,000 euro property cost 325,000 US dollars. It's now around 277,000 US dollars, which is 14% cheaper in US dollar terms, Hong Kong dollar terms, or 10% cheaper in Singapore dollar terms. One of the key components of the Golden Visa scheme is applicants must purchase qualifying Golden Visa property. So we have Pedro Teixeira from one of Portugal's leading property developers, Excellium. He'll be joining us today and explaining how the property investment works, and will give you a live example of a recently launched project. Pedro will also show you how you can save 19,000 euros IMT, which is the municipal tax, and stamp duty on the latest Excellium development. And that's for clients who make a commitment to invest before the end of 2022. So we have a live webinar. Please write your questions in the Q&A section on the Zoom chat. All four of us will be answering the questions at the end of the webinar. If you're watching this on YouTube after the event, feel free to reach out to me directly. So firstly, a bit of background on Holborn Assets and how we differ from our competitors. The 5 takeaways here are: number 1, size. We're the largest independent company in the market with over 500 employees globally and 15 offices across Europe, Middle East and Asia. Why is size important? Well, our wealth management arm forms a large part of the business. We primarily work with expats in Hong Kong, in Singapore and the Middle East. We've been around for the last 24 years. It means we have a strong track record of delivering results for clients. We've also experienced rises and falls in the world economy, from the dot-com bubble, SARS, GFC. So we know how to navigate the turbulent market conditions for our clients. As we're a global company, it means we can provide advice on 7 citizenship programs, including the USA, Caribbean countries such as St. Kitts and Grenada. However, Portugal's currently the most popular program in the world, and today we're going to understand why it's become so popular over the last 10 years. Secondly, you're dealing with a licensed financial advisory firm. Unlike our competitors, they tend to be smaller, either Portuguese-based companies or transaction-based agencies. We hold financial services licenses in the US, Hong Kong, UK, and the Middle East, which means we're accountable to regulators. It also means we've got to apply a very high level of due diligence and care before we propose our investments to clients. Number 3, the process. We've engineered and finely tuned a Henry Ford production line approach using trusted third parties. We project manage the entire process for you using top Portuguese law firms who have a proven track record in even the most complicated extended family cases. We have all the right contacts at the top Portuguese banks to get bank accounts open quickly, and we team up with the best Portuguese property developers who have a proven track record of sourcing and managing the properties which provide income and an opportunity for appreciation. Fourthly, track record. As with anything in life, the proof is in the pudding. A question to ask is how many clients your advisor has brought onto the program. So me and my team, we are the leading advisors in Holborn and account for the largest proportion. But globally, our offices, our citizenship by investment division has grown significantly over the last 2 years. And last year, we took 150 families through the Portugal Golden Visa program. And this year, we're set to increase this to 200. We also have a 100% success rate. Before you start the relationship with us, you can read reviews from over 1,800 clients on the independent consumer review website Trustpilot. We get rated by our clients 4.7 out of 5. So read all of those reviews for yourself. We are a people business. We've got a highly qualified and motivated team across the business, implementation and business development. So it's myself and the team who hold your hand throughout the whole onboarding process and renewal process. We're here to take you through the complex submission of documents. Bit about me, I'm from UK, Chester in the Northwest, and in 2007 I decided I'd had enough of the constant rain and dark winter nights. I was lucky enough to get a job in Hong Kong. So the last 15 years of my career have been spent advising clients in Asia and Hong Kong. My background is wealth management and citizenship by investment. My typical clients are non-resident Indians, British expats and Americans, all professionals working in Singapore, Hong Kong, or the UK. Over the years, my clients have been kind enough to provide their own positive experience on the level of service they've received and the outcomes they've achieved. So that's available on request. James Holmes, also from the UK, ex-professional rugby player, so he can take the hard knocks of working with me. He heads up the business development part of the team. James is responsible for onboarding clients and liaising with the implementation team who are based in Dubai, Cyprus, and Vietnam. James and I love seeing potential clients face to face. So in fact, next week we'll be at the Fullerton Hotel in Singapore, next Wednesday the 9th through to Friday the 11th of November. And we're holding a Portuguese Golden Visa clinic with slots available every hour from 10 a.m. through till 7 p.m. So if you'd like to meet us for a coffee, have a chat, let us know, and we'll send you the calendar link out so you can make a booking. So what exactly is the Portugal Golden Visa program and why is it in so much demand? So these are the 6 key points you need to know. Once you and your family have got your Golden Visa, you automatically have the right to live, work, study, and access the healthcare benefit system and retire in Portugal. A Golden Visa is renewable every 2 years. Secondly, for those nationalities who have to apply for a Schengen visa every time you travel to Europe, that's no longer the case with the Golden Visa. So it saves you admin, time, visiting embassies, and of course you can make that spontaneous last-minute trip. Of course, you're investing in a country which has cheaper real estate than Germany, France, Netherlands, and Spain. On a price per square meter basis, Golden Visa property is usually valued anything from 5,000 to 6,000, 7,000 euros per square meter. What are the drivers for growth in the property market? Well, Pedro will cover that shortly, but Portugal has tourism as the main part of its economy, which makes the sector a catalyst for growth in the property market. Every year, 7 million tourists come to the Algarve for their annual holiday. So there's a supply-demand imbalance with insufficient good standard hotel accommodation and serviced apartments. This is part of the investment opportunity. Yields and occupancy rates for accommodation for tourists are high. Unlike Spain and Greece, by their citizenship programs state you have to stay in the country for 6 months a year, whereas Portugal requires you to visit for a holiday. So that's just a stay for 14 days every 2 years. And this is why the program is popular with clients in Hong Kong and Singapore. It means you can retain your highly paid job and enjoy family holidays in a cheaper country whilst on the pathway to citizenship. In terms of tax, Hong Kong and Singapore have lower rates of tax and higher cost of living. Portugal is the opposite, high tax rates with low cost of living. However, Portugal wants to attract top talent. So to do this, it's introduced a specific tax regime called the non-habitual tax regime. This kicks in only when you elect it to, and only when you stay more than 183 days in Portugal. If you don't stay more than 183 days, tax will not affect you. However, if you do enact the NHR tax regime, it does mean that you are taxed at significantly lower rates, typically in the low single digits on any income overseas, depending on the type of income stream that is derived from. Lastly, citizenship. So Portuguese passport, which is an EU passport from year 6. This is the point you can apply for either permanent residency or a Portuguese passport. You do have to pass a language test, fairly simple to do, and there's online tutors that can help you through this. Once you've got an EU passport, this cannot be taken away from you, as it gives you and the family the right to live, work, retire, and study across the whole EU. For families with children, there are some significant benefits of holding an EU passport, particularly when it comes to education, universities particularly. Support throughout the process, we hold your hand. So typically from start to the point of your Golden Visa application, it will take around 9 months. So today we'll give you a flavour for the type of investments available. Once you've made your decision to proceed, we will then guide and steer you every aspect throughout the process. Typically, from the start of receiving your Golden Visa, or the start of investment to receiving a Golden Visa, takes around 12 months. It does depend on the immigration department in Portugal. Things have been a little bit slower. They're catching up to processing after COVID and the elections earlier this year. But once your Golden Visa is ready, you'll be required to visit Lisbon and get your biometric ID cards done. And then you'll typically be issued with your Golden Visa cards around a month or 2 later. And that's the point your 5-year ticking clock starts. So in the meantime, that's my section. Do let us know who you are and where you are in the world on the chat. We'll have plenty of opportunities for questions for all of us to answer at the end of this webinar. So keep them coming through. Up next, I'm going to hand you over to the team at Clear Treasury, Rebecca. Rebecca, I'll use unmute.
Sorry, thanks very much for inviting us on to speak today. So I've worked in the currency industry for over 19 years. I was based in the Middle East for many years, and I'm currently based in Spain. We have offices in London and in Ireland, and we have been established since 2008. And the question is, why use a currency company when you're transferring your currency for your Portuguese property investment? Most people would assume that going through your bank, you're going to get a very good exchange rate and a very good service. Unfortunately, this is not the case. We see time and time again clients comparing the rates with their banks, with us, and seeing a huge discrepancy between the mid-market rate and the exchange rate that the bank give them typically. Typically, they would be getting between 1% and up to 5% less than what the official exchange rate is. So we're here to help them bridge that gap and save them money. Clear Currency was formed by ex-Treasury bankers who saw a gap in the market to facilitate large corporate clients who had currency exposure by offering them extremely competitive rates and fantastic customer service. The bank was not providing them. We then rolled out the service to private clients who are purchasing property, lump sum investments, or just having savings overseas. So since 2017, I believe it was, we've been helping many thousands of private clients transferring their money for mostly property purchases. Why use Clear Currency? Saving money. The way we're able to save our clients money is very simple. We buy currency in bulk volume, so we get access to discounted rates of exchange. And that means we can offer our clients a cheaper rate than the bank is going to give you directly. As I mentioned, we can typically save a client between 1% and 4% compared to the bank's exchange rate. Our customer service has to be extremely competitive to be able to obviously keep going as a business. And our process is extremely simple to use the service. Transfers usually happen within 1 to 2 working days. So it's no slower than using the banks by using us as an extra step in the process. We are fully regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK, giving clients peace of mind when using our service. And we guide the client through every step of the process. So we won't just sort of give them a price and let them get on with it. We'll hold their hand throughout the whole process, step by step. As Chris has mentioned, it is a really fantastic time to be buying euros if you have dollars or a dollar pegged currency. So if you've got Hong Kong dollars, Singapore dollars, now is a really, really fantastic time to buy euros. It's actually the strongest it's been in the last 20 years. So you're getting far more euros for your dollars than you would even compared to this time last year. As Chris mentioned, we've seen a 14% gain in the exchange rate. Whether the euro is going to stay weak for long term is obviously it's a crystal ball scenario. But at present, if you're buying euros, it's a really fantastic time to take advantage of the exchange rate. For example, on 100,000 US dollars, you're gaining over $23,000 just comparing the rate at the end of September this year compared to last September 2021. If you're transferring 500,000 euros, then you are gaining $115,000, which is a phenomenal amount of money just on the exchange rate. To use our service is very simple. As we are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, we've got anti-money laundering processes in place, which means clients need to sign up and register to use our service. Very simple, takes about 30 seconds, mostly your contact details and proof of identification, usually in the form of a passport copy and proof of address. Once you've signed up, our compliance team will activate your account and you'll be able to log in and either book an exchange rate on the platform or speak to one of our traders via email or telephone, who will then book an exchange rate for you when you are ready. Once that rate is fixed, it's a guaranteed exchange rate, regardless of the currency fluctuations. At the moment, we're seeing a lot of fluctuations day by day for pound, euro, and US dollar. Obviously, Gary will be discussing why we're seeing such big fluctuations. Nevertheless, once we fix the rate for you, it's a guaranteed exchange rate. So even if the rate goes against you the next day, you've got a rate locked in with us already. Once that rate is fixed, you'll get an email confirmation and we'll guide you through the process step by step. But in simple terms, it's fixed rate. You transfer the currency that you have to us. So for example, if you have Hong Kong dollars or Sing dollars, you will transfer them to our Hong Kong dollar or Sing dollar account. Once we've received your payment, then the euros are immediately released to the account details that you instruct us. Another benefit of using us rather than the bank is if you're sending money to European banks from outside of the Eurozone, outside of the SEPA payment system, many of the banks in Portugal and the Southern European countries will charge you a receiving fee, which can range between 0.2 to 0.6% of the amount you're transferring. And if you're transferring 330,000 euros, obviously that's a substantial amount that the bank could charge you. With us, because we are in the SEPA payment system still, you'll avoid any fees, receiving fees via using ourselves. And I think that's it from me. Shall I go through the frequently asked questions now, Chris, or shall I leave that to the end?
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, we'll leave the Q&A for the end. Just as a reminder, yeah, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We've got a few that have come through already. But yeah, keen to hear from Gary in terms of your views on the euro and what you see ahead.
Thanks, Chris. So yes, everyone, my name's Gary. I head up the private client desk at Clear. So I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and I help our clients in terms of the actual transactional side for the various different currencies. Now, Rebecca obviously alluded to the fact of where the euro is currently, with a 14% swing within the last year in terms of US dollar to euro. Now, I'm sure we've all seen it in the news, but there's a number of factors really which have lent to this, specifically in terms of the euro and the geopolitical tensions across the world, but specifically in Ukraine, have really sort of put pressure on the euro as a whole due to its proximity to Ukraine. Now, that has also led towards a potential energy shortage and fears over further energy shortages. So really, whereas normally a currency would particularly be determined by economic factors, at the moment, it really is geopolitical tensions which are really having a significant impact on the euro, specifically, as we said, against US dollar, moving it down 14%. To actually see the euro against US dollar below parity is obviously a great time at the moment. It's something we haven't sort of seen for 20 years in terms of the exchange rates. And really, that is down to all the factors that I mentioned. Now, specifically in terms of those, as I said, these are political tensions. So at some point, these will reverse. I don't think for the foreseeable, whilst there is still instability, that the euro will remain weak. So hence why it is such a good time currently. But the further we go down the line, you would optimistically and hopefully really expect these events to hopefully have leveled out and there to become a real sort of resurgence in the euro. Certainly further down the line once these all get sorted. Other factors that have sort of played into this is the strength of the US dollar at the moment. The Federal Reserve in the US really have been very strong in raising their interest rates, more so than other countries, which has really turned the dollar into the currency that it is right now. Also, in terms of political uncertainty, the US dollar becomes a safe haven currency. So again, lending weight to all pegged currencies, whilst we are in a situation of uncertainty, the markets really view any dollar denominated currency specifically linked to US dollar as a safe haven, meaning that the strength just continues rising whilst things are uncertain. And then as I mentioned, further down the line, we do expect sort of a slight balancing of the currencies as such. So there'll be less need for a safe haven currency, and there'll be more opportunity for currencies such as the euro, etc., to gain again, really compared to where things have stood. So really, as I mentioned, I think the eurozone, the highest sort of the factor really that has sort of taken, well, really important to it is the energy crisis on the mainland. So that is why we've seen it, as we said, 14% within the last year, against, just say, for example, the full calendar year is nearly 17% down. And across the course of 5 years, in terms of dollar to euro, it's a 17% gain at the moment compared to what we've been seeing for the averages. So really, it's presenting an opportunity for euro buyers, whilst we're fairly sort of confident in, as the longer you go past this point, that the euro will then rebound once things stabilize, and then realistically you've got an opportunity to gain against the recent losses that we've seen.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Gary. So the key takeaways here from Rebecca: Clear Treasury is a licensed platform in the UK. The big headline is saving money, 4 to 5% spread, meaning the margin your retail bank takes from you. Clear Treasury have, through their buying power, their economies of scale, work on tight, fine margins. So effectively, you're saving yourself a lot of money when you're making a large transfer into property. And Gary, you spoke about war in Ukraine as a reason for euro weakness. These are geopolitical events. We certainly hope they're not around for too long. Realistically, a golden visa investment is for a 6-year period minimum. So over that period, we do anticipate the euro strengthening as geopolitical events normalize. And of course, as Gary said, the US dollar always goes in cycles, and we are very much at the high of the US dollar cycle at the moment. So again, looking more medium term, we do expect the euro to increase in value. So that's why at the moment, we believe now is as good a time as any in the last few years to be buying euro-denominated investments with either US dollars, Hong Kong dollars, or Sing dollars. So keep your questions coming in the chat. In terms of the next speaker, we have Pedro, who's kindly joining us from Portugal on a public holiday. So thank you for joining us, Pedro.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chris, for inviting me. So I'm going to start here talking a little bit about myself and then Excellium Capital. And then I'll go into our past projects, just briefly browse through them, and then we can talk about our current offering. So Excellium Capital is an independent company. We are a corporate finance business. We specialize in acquiring and selling real estate. We've been doing that for a number of years, basically since 2002. We focus a lot on the real estate, on the residential and also commercial real estate. So we started in 2002. This gives you a brief idea. Most importantly, we started the Golden Visa program in 2014. I lived in the US for 27 years. I moved permanently back to Portugal in at beginning of 2021. While I lived in the US, I was involved in real estate development. After the financial crisis, I had to reinvent myself and started working on EB5. Did that for a number of years. Had a successful business in the EB5 side, which is the equivalent to the Golden Visa in the United States. And then once the Golden Visa started in Portugal, my friend and partner, Nuno Soares, who's the senior partner at Excellium Capital, challenged me to come to Portugal and do the Golden Visa. So this is our core team, Nuno being the senior managing partner, me being the managing partner here in Portugal. We have William Ray, that he's between Australia and Portugal. He's our investment manager. Madalena Soares, she's our customer relations, and Lydia, she's originally from China, and she's the head of China desk. So we have people in our team that speak different languages, including Chinese. We at Excellium, we always try to look for the best opportunities for our clients. We've been doing this for a long time, so we know where to source our product. We're also very well known in the market. So typically banks, real estate funds, they come to us and they offer us first pick on a lot of opportunities that are out there. So that gives us kind of an edge. We always look for opportunities where we source them well below market value, so we can then sell them at market price or slightly below market value. We back up our offerings always with an independent appraisal, a third-party independent appraisal. So it's a guarantee that what you're buying is actually what we are claiming to be. As our typical project it floats between the typical 500,000 euro project, which basically allows you to buy in anywhere in the country. Currently, you can no longer buy residential real estate, only commercial, but you can buy it anywhere. And it doesn't matter how old it is or in what condition it is, it can be brand new. Then you have the 400,000 project, which only applies to certain areas of the country, typically areas that have either lower density or lower per capita income. The Algarve is one of these areas where actually Excellium was the company that qualified Algarve for the 400,000. From the beginning, we knew that the law allowed for the Algarve. Immigration services didn't want to accept that. We got two very strong legal opinions. We took steps to court and we won. So, and then you have the 200,000 euro project, which typically is in a low density area like the Algarve. And it's a property that is 30 years or older and is located in a urban renewal area. This allows for a much lower investment. You buy the asset and you sign a construction or refurbishment contract with us, the developer, and that allows you for the total investment that includes the asset and the refurbishment to be 280,000. This is obviously the most popular program. It's the program that we've sold the most. We have sold literally hundreds of these properties. We now have a new project coming online. Typically, we on our projects we also always offer a guaranteed income, guaranteed buyback, and then we keep the management, and we will manage the property for the client, where the client will have no expenses except for the IMT, the IMI, which is the municipal tax, and insurance. Everything else will be paid by us. We can go briefly through some of our past projects. We've done dozens of them. These are the locations. So we've been all over Portugal. So we have projects in Lisbon. We have in Fatima, which is a very strong religious tourism destination. Center of Portugal, Castelo Branco, Porto Alegre. These are all residential projects mostly, except for Fatima, where we have, it's a mix of residential and religious tourism. And then obviously the Algarve, which is our where we have most of our projects, and our projects are located all over the Algarve. So Lagos, Alvor, Albufeira, Olhos d'Água, and Vila Moura. So we have a number of projects in the Algarve. Currently, we have over 400 rooms under management in the Algarve. So this is the first project that I mentioned. This is Fatima Park. This is total of 52 units, and it's a mix of studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. We manage this property, and they are both long-term rentals and short-term rentals for tourism. This is Porto Alegre. This is we have another much bigger project, but I can't mention them all. This was actually a refurbishment project, a small one, 12 units, qualified by 280,000 euro level. This wasn't actually 30 years old, but because it was located in an urban renewal area, it qualified for the 280,000 level, and it's being leased as a residential. This was our first project in the Algarve. These are 20 tourist apartments. They're right in the middle of a golf course, and this is the project that we had to go to war against CEF and take him to task and really force them to interpret the law the way it should be. And this is this was our first 400,000 euro project, and it's going very strong. We've been managing it since 2017. Most of our investors actually want us to continue managing the property, even though they have a buyback. They decided that they don't want to sell. They want to keep the property, most of them. And these are now, most of them are actually being rented as long-term rentals, mostly by digital nomads. So it's a curious phenomenon that's happening in the Algarve, where you have people coming to the Algarve and living here long-term. This was the second project, Millennium Plaza, very similar to the first one. Luxury apartments. It's a mix of apartments and villas or townhouses, and this project is going strong also. We've been managing it, and in terms of appreciation, this has been amazing. Over 50% since 2017. Another interesting project, this one in Lagos. These are actually it's 27 apartments. It doesn't say there. There's a total of 27 T2 apartments, or 2-bedroom apartments. Initially, we started to manage them as tourism rentals, but because of the quality and the location and just the fact that you have people living here year round now, foreigners coming and live here. These are all rented as year-round properties with a very good yield. This is one of our. Okay, so now this is our last one of our last projects was Pelican Alvor in the Algarve. Very close to right next door actually to the project that we are launching currently. And this is a 4-star apartment hotel, a total of 70 units, and it's fully sold. We might have 1 or 2 units available in the 2-bedroom. I think everything else is gone. This project sold very, very quickly in about, I think in 2 months it was gone. And then now we have, we're going to talk a little bit about our project also in the Alvor, right next to Pelican. It's called Yellow Tulip. We have a total of 79 units. This is a huge property. It used to have a compact golf course in the back, so the grounds are amazing. They're mostly 1-bedroom studios, or 1-bedroom apartments that actually have been divided into in two studios. So you buy 1 unit, and each unit has two apartments in there. This qualifies for the 280,000 category. It's the prices vary between 280 and 295, depending on whether it has pool view, if it's first, second, or third floor, and the area of the apartment. Although they're all the same size. We pay the rental equivalent of 3 years at 3.3%, and that's paid until the end of the year. We'll do that as a payment in lieu of your taxes and all your deed expenses. So your IMT, your stamp duty, your notary fees, that will be covered by us, meaning that you have no expenses when purchasing the property. The advantage of this is, instead of getting a cash payment where you would have taxes, a 28% tax, by getting your rental paid as a contribution to your taxes and your notary fees, you pay no taxes. So after you signed a 10-year lease agreement with us, and from year 6 to 10, there will be a 50-50 shared pool of the NOI. So this, obviously, if you decide to keep the property, we offer a buyback guarantee at year 6, and then we have 1 year to complete the acquisition. That also gives you there's a little buffer there. While you wait for your either permanent residence or passport, you have time where you can keep the property and you feel safe that you're still within the umbrella of your Golden Visa. We offer 2 weeks free per year off peak, and then 1 week during peak season at 50% of the listed price. So this is a very popular project. It will go very quickly. We are starting to have a lot of demand for it. So and until the end of the year, we're offering the opportunity to when acquiring it basically with almost no other expenses. So these are a little bit, these are renderings of what the property is going to look like once it's finished. It actually looks quite similar now, except obviously it is a little bit dated because it's older than 30 years. It has gone through a refurbishment in the early 2000s, but now it needs another one. So we will do the typical refurbishment where we redo the kitchen, we redo the bathroom, and obviously If needed, we will put in new windows, and obviously everything will be painted, and we will do new floors, and obviously we'll completely redo the common areas. All right, so I just wanted to very quickly just end my presentation here. The reason why Portugal is very attractive is because it's a safe country, it's a stable democracy. We've been immune so far to the populism that you're seeing around the world. There is rule of law. The real estate is still very affordable and is still poised for growth. So we welcome you, and we are sure that you'll be very happy if you decide to move to Portugal. Well, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Pedro Teixeira. So what we've learned there is how Excellium's track record through buying and building and acquiring Golden Visa eligible property. It demonstrates the rental demand in Portugal. Quite interesting, your point, Pedro, about digital nomads being very high demand type of tenants. I think the key with any investment property is full service. The last thing owners want to be bothered with is issues of maintenance, issues of hidden costs or additional charges. So Pedro's explained there very clearly that Excellium and their management team do everything to manage the property to ensure maximum occupancy, and ultimately maximum occupancy means a decent rental yield from year 6, year 7 onwards. If you're getting a share of the hotel's profits of a hotel that's been refurbished as a higher standard, of course, the demand increases, the average room rate increases. And of course, with commercial property, that's what pushes up the price. So really interesting. And I think, timing, wedding that together with what we've learned from Rebecca and Gary, certainly in terms of the euro, there's a very interesting opportunity to buy euros with Sing dollars, Hong Kong dollars, US dollars. And as Pedro's explained, quite a large saving of 20,000 euros, I believe it was, for IMT, the municipal tax, and the stamp duty on this latest yellow tulip property. So rounding things up, we've got some questions that have come in. So Rebecca, Gary, and Pedro, we're going to put you on the spot for a few of these. First one, Pedro, for you. What are the requirements for Golden Visa renewals here?
Well, so the requirements for Golden Visa renewals are very simple and straightforward. What the law says is that you need to spend 7 days a year per year to qualify, to continue qualifying for Golden Visa. You can do that by coming to Portugal every year and spending at least 7 days, or you can combine a 14-day stay in 2 years. So basically, with 3 visits, you'll be able to fulfill all of your requirements, which is 35 days total in 5 years. So you come for 7 days the first year, and you come for 14 days the second and third year, and another 14 days for your 4th and 5th year. So that is the requirement. Obviously, you need to maintain a clean criminal record, and you need to maintain your investment. You cannot sell your investment. As long as you maintain these premises and you fulfill the required stay, that's all you need to maintain your Golden Visa and renew it every couple of years.
Fantastic. So really, it's a very easy process to follow. And yeah, Pedro, thanks for explaining that. Next question for you, Pedro, again. We have Nick in Bangkok. Quite a common question here, particularly for people with families. What happens if the owner of the investment dies throughout the period? What would happen to the property, and what would happen to the family's application?
So actually, that is a very good question. And it is a question that it's the first time that it's been raised to us. And to be very candid with you, I need to check with my attorney, and then I will let Chris know, and Chris will get back to you. It does involve a number of things here. Inheritance law. It involves whether the main applicant, once the main applicant is deceased, whether that can carry over then to his family or not. So again, this is the first time I get that question, and it is a good question. And I will check. Actually, I will call my attorney as soon as I get off this webinar, and I will let Chris know, and then he will inform you on the answer to the question.
Thanks, Petra. And from what I understand, there's no inheritance tax in Portugal. Is that correct?
Currently, that's correct.
Yes.
And hopefully it stays like that. And that obviously is something that is very attractive to a lot of people.
Okay, fantastic. And next question here, just going back to the yellow tulip, in terms of the lease agreement with clients or the lease agreement with Excellium, can you just expand a little bit in terms of the duration of that lease agreement?
So what we like to do, we like to typically sign a 10-year lease where we prepay the first 5 years, and then we will do a 50-50 split with for the last 5 years on the NOI of on the pool of apartments. That allows us to promote the property, invest in the promotion of the property, and give us the confidence that we have the property to manage long term. In terms of the lease, the client has no expenses with the property except for the IMI, which is the municipal tax. We're talking, probably 400 or 500 euros per year, if that. And then property insurance. All other expenses are covered by the management company. So it's a very straightforward process. We will maintain the property for you, and basically, you'll have a hands-free approach. You have nothing to worry about with the property. We will take care of it, and we'll do everything that is necessary for the property to generate income. Obviously, it's in our best interest to promote property the best way possible, to get as much occupancy as possible, because not only we've prepaid the first 5 years, we also want to generate a good income for the following 5. So it's in everybody's interest, and we have experience. We have a big team of people that do this, and we know the market very well, and we've been successful in it. So that's basically how our lease works, and the conditions, and how things are managed.
Thanks for explaining that, Pedro. And from what I've seen as well, you can actually look on booking.com and you can see the yellow tulip, which is currently under a different name, if I remember right.
Correct. Yes. But but if you look at any of our other properties, you see that they're all between 9 and 9.8, depending on the property. I think they're all actually all above 9.4, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah. So I think the value there is you're buying into an existing hotel. You're not taking any construction risk. You're not buying off plan. It's here. It's now. It's been in operation for 20 plus years.
And we will not stop operations. Sorry to interrupt you. That's the thing. We will do the refurbishment as an ongoing concern, and we will not stop operations, because particularly yellow tulip, has a very loyal clientele, people that have been going there for 10, 15, 20 years. So obviously we don't want to risk closing down the property, and then you have this clientele that will have to find something else. And typically when that happens, there's a good chance that they'll find something else they like and they won't come back. So we want to keep the property open, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think you're going back to that 10-year lease. Typically, your first opportunity to get the passport or PR is year 6. At the moment, immigration SCF is taking a little bit longer, so the likelihood that would go on to year 7. But going beyond the 10-year lease, what would happen there if a client wanted to retain the property going beyond 10 years?
Well, because 10 years is a long time, as we've seen in the past 3 or 4 years, wild things do happen in the world, from a pandemic to a war. So we really don't know what the market conditions are going to be, in 10 years. So at the end of 10 years, we can sit down with the owners and look at what the market is and renegotiate conditions for the lease. Obviously, we will always be interested in continuing managing the property. It's just a matter of negotiating, terms and percentages. But we will continue managing the property if the clients want us to do so.
Fantastic. So Gary, been sitting on the sidelines there. Question for you from someone in the UK. They've got pounds, they want to buy euros. Both are pretty poor currencies at the moment. Any indication on the view of sterling against euro?
Well, funny you should say that. We're actually in for, a week this week. Actually, on Thursday, we have the next Bank of England meeting. And now I really do think that's going to be the key indicator for moving forward. Again, the Bank of England have been slower than the US in terms of raising interest rates, but have really been sort of ramping up as of late. And although I think we're expected to raise interest rates in the UK another 75 basis points on Thursday, it really will be the rhetoric of moving forward, whether we're going to continue along this rate cycle or not. Now, I think at the moment, the way things are sort of in the UK, we seem to have recovered from the recent disastrous mini budget somewhat. Sterling obviously did recently fall quite low on the back of that, but has since recovered all of the losses and actually moved slightly higher than where we were prior to that. I think with the Eurozone sort of in terms of their economic data, it still is slower than the UK. So I think with this next Bank of England meeting, combined with the outlook of potential further rate increases, I think over the next sort of 6 months or so, we should still see sterling appreciate. Now, we've also we've recently experienced a bit of stability since Rishi Sunak's been announced as the Prime Minister, which is what sterling has been crying out for, is that stability over sort of the recent turmoil of the last few months. So, as I said, we've got an interesting few weeks with the Bank of England and the next fiscal statement. I believe it's November the 17th on the outlook. But personally, I think this current stability with the fact that we'll be putting up the interest rates sort of as of Thursday and continuing to do so to really try and combat inflation means that personally, for me, I think there's still a bit more room for sterling to really sort of, hopefully increase faster than the euro.
Fantastic. And Rebecca, we have clients that when they onboard themselves or when we onboard them through the program, first of all, they need to pay the legal fees. So as opposed to the big property amount, it's a small legal fee, typically 12 through 16,000 euros. Is there a minimum for clear Treasury? And if so, what is that minimum level in terms of amount you'll onboard a client?
So there's no set minimum with us. Typically, we are more beneficial for clients transferring the lump sums. However, if we know that a client has a smaller deposit, it's great to use our service with a smaller payment because they can test out the service, get comfortable with the platform if they wish to use the platform, and then they're all set ready for the next larger payment.
Fantastic. Good. So we've got time for one more question. We did promise to keep it under 60 minutes and we've got literally a few minutes remaining. We will look at the next question here. In terms of appreciation, Pedro, any kind of indicators of what the drivers for appreciation would be for property in the Algarve? What can we expect? What's happened historically?
Yes. So what we've been seeing in the last 10, I would say eight years, and we've seen this accelerating. There's a tremendous demand for property in the Algarve, and that demand really hasn't been accompanied by construction. There hasn't been a lot of construction happening since we had the financial crisis here in 2010, 2011, because there was a lot of property that had been built previously, and obviously with the financial crisis, there were some developers that went bankrupt, and so the banks had quite a bit of property on hand. All that's been sold, so there's nothing left. And now with the huge demand, you're seeing a huge appreciation because the offer cannot keep up with the demand. So, and construction in Portugal takes quite a long time, just not only because of the way the properties are built, but also because of planning and how long it takes for approvals. So if you decide today that you're going to build a project, and you already own the land, between submitting everything for approval, getting your approvals, and then building the property and having it finished to go to market, you're looking at least 4 years. Okay, and so because there's been very little construction, and now it's picking up, obviously because there's demand. In the next I would say 4 to 5 years, you're going to see a huge continuing growth in value. We've been seeing, depending on the location, anywhere to between 6-7% a year to 10-12% a year. That's what we've been seeing in the Algarve. We are seeing every year, we see more people wanting to come to Portugal. People coming from countries where have much higher incomes, the cost of living is much higher, so they're willing to pay more for properties. So that's also driving the prices up. And what you're also seeing is that the construction that is happening now, it's all luxury construction, meaning that these are properties that are also going to be expensive. So there's actually nothing in the market besides a huge economic crisis, which no one is immune to, but hopefully that will not happen. There's really nothing out there that will cause the properties to come down in value, because there's very little offer, a lot of demand, and the offer that exists is very expensive too. So that's our reading of the market.
Fantastic. And I think, as you quite rightly say, these are not luxury high-end hotels. They are mid-tier, reasonably priced, and in times of economic uncertainty, these level of the hotel market are not necessarily impacted as much as luxury.
Correct.
But I think we've seen some fantastic growth in property in Portugal, along with the low value in the euro. I think now is as good a time as any to look at this program. So closing off today, thanks very much to Rebecca. Thank you for Gary. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you.
As a reminder, next week, James and I will be at the Fullerton Hotel in Singapore next Wednesday the 9th through to Friday the 11th. Come join us for a cup of tea or coffee at our Portugal Golden Visa clinic. We will send an invite out to all clients based in Singapore. For Hong Kong-based clients, we're in the Lippo Centre in Admiralty. We're available for a chat most days. Feel free to contact us if you want to come in. Again, cup of tea or coffee. Alternatively, we're always happy to catch up on Zoom for clients elsewhere around the world. So thanks once again for joining, and look forward to catching up with everyone next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.